What's up, everybody? This is going to be a limited spoiler review for The Defenders, and let me go ahead and explain what I mean by that. I'm saying limited spoilers because obviously I do have to talk about some details of the series, but I'm not going to ruin any major plot points. There may be even some characters that I don't mention at all that will be very intentional. And, I wanted this to be limited spoilers because I know not everybody has had the chance to binge watch this, although it's a quick watch. I will say that because it is 8 episodes, whereas the seasons for their individual series have been 13 episodes. So yeah, the 8 episodes goes by pretty fast, but again, I know not everybody has had the time to get to it. Also, oddly enough, Netflix really pushed this series for a while. There was a lot of promotion, and then it seems like the last week or two, right before it came out, there wasn't quite as much promotion. Even when I went to Netflix to actually go see the series, I assumed it would pop up right away as the the hot new thing on Netflix, and it didn't. I actually had to find it, so that was a bit unusual. Yeah, there were some people that didn't even realize it had come out already. So yeah, that's why I'm going to keep this limited in terms of spoilers, so don't worry about that. I'm not going to give away anything major within this series, and let me go ahead and get into it. But I do want to start by pointing out that doing a little bit of research about the Defenders, I didn't know that this was like a street level team until recently. I mean, very recently. So this was a team that was actually founded by Doctor Strange to be sort of like an Avengers type of team, to bring together Marvel's best. And for a long time, that's what it was. And you see the original team there on the left, which included Silver Surfer, who is just ridiculously powerful. The Hulk, the incredible physical strength, and Namor as well, definitely no joke. So a lot of very powerful heroes. And then the roster, of course, like every other team, changed over the years. And like I said, it's just very, very recently that it became like a street level team. So I found that to be pretty interesting. And up to this point, I've been pretty happy with what Netflix has done with this I'll say the individual characters, and then leading up to the Defenders. Definitely have been some rough edges, and I'll talk about those because the first thing I really want to do here is talk about the heroes. So I want to talk about them individually, what I think about them, how they've been handled thus far, and then also how they were handled within the Defenders. And I am going to go in the order that these characters were introduced to us via Netflix, of course. So Daredevil, up to this point, Daredevil season 1 and 2, both phenomenal in my opinion. Not perfect by any means, and I think the 13 episodes kind of drags these series down a little bit because inevitably every series has had at least 1 or 2 episodes that felt like filler, where there's a whole lot of conversations that felt repetitive. And I remember with Daredevil season 1, I was loving it up until the point I think it got to the 11th or 12th episode, and there was an episode that just felt unnecessary to me. Season 2 I thought was a lot better, much better paced and everything, but there were 2 storylines that felt very much divided. You had a focus on Elektra, you had a focus on Punisher, and of course Matt Murdock, Daredevil, being involved in both of those, but it really felt like 2 separate shows going on almost. But within this series, the Defenders, like I said, not really getting into spoilers here, because I don't think this is any surprise at all. If you know where it left off with him in Daredevil season 2, then you know that he would have some reluctance to get back into the suit and to even play like a leadership type of role, which he's definitely capable of, but he's very resistant and hesitant about that, and it is understandable, and it mainly is because of everything that happened with Elektra. So it's something that he's really struggling with. Was it overplayed a little bit in the series? Maybe that's up for you to decide when, once you've seen the whole Defender series. In my opinion, I feel like it was maybe a little bit overplayed. And there were some moments where I guess it was like the same beats repeated, and maybe it could have been handled slightly differently, especially towards the end. But, I understood why he made some of the decisions that he did. And I'll talk some more about him later on, of course, as he relates to the other characters. Jessica Jones, inevitably, whenever there is a team up of some sort, there's going to be a character that gets kind of slighted. You think about the Avengers movie, Hawkeye, definitely got slided in the first one. You think about the Avengers Age of Ultron, Quicksilver was very much slighted. So that always happens when there's some sort of team up. And within the Defenders, I definitely feel like Jessica Jones was somewhat slighted in I mean, she got to be herself. She's still a detective. That's really where she shines the most, when she actually gets to be that private investigator, I should say. She does a good job with that. You know, she has some really cool scenes, but they're very limited. I feel like there were maybe too many moments that kind of played off of her alcoholism, almost like a joke. And for me, I guess because of my personal background, having a family member that dealt with it, I really don't take alcoholism as a joke. I just can't on a personal level. So I feel like it's something that should be addressed in a more serious way within the series, and maybe they will do that moving forward. Maybe the Defenders wasn't the place for it, but at the same time, I don't think it should have been made light of either. And they definitely used Jessica Jones a lot as like comic relief, which was kind of unexpected. But the actress, I mean, if you look in the upper right there, you see that cast picture where they're obviously just kind of relaxed and everything, and she's joking around. She's very much capable of delivering comedy, but I guess I just didn't expect to see it so much. And there are a lot of one-liners that she has. Some land well, some are good, but then there are some that feel very forced, and they just kind of land with a thud. So yeah, like I said, overall, I really wish her character had been better implemented within the Defenders, but her reluctance as well, I think, is definitely understandable to be a team member. That was sort of a big thing within the series, and I'll address that some more later on as well. Luke Cage, overall, I was satisfied with Luke Cage, the way he was handled in the series. I think his own series was done pretty well, and he was, of course, was originally revealed within the Jessica Jones series. I really liked the interplay between those two characters. I thought that was one of the strengths of Jessica Jones series, and then also she had a great villain to go up against, Kilgrave. So that really helped that series a lot. Whereas with Luke Cage, his individual series started off with an interesting villain, and then there was sort of a mid-season switch, and from there it was kind of downhill for his own series, which was unfortunate. The first half of Luke Cage's own series was definitely stronger than the latter half, and then his relationship with Claire, I understand he needs somebody to play off of, but the Claire character to me has been kind of overdone, and I'm going to talk some more about that as well. But you know, he has to have somebody to open up to. That's understandable, and he does have some interaction with Misty Knight as well. And Luke Cage is definitely a ladies' man. It's funny to think about that when you see the Defenders and you realize that he's been with 3 of the female leads within the series. So that obviously dates back to his roots, where he started off as like a blaxploitation type of character, almost like Shaft, or you know, like one of those characters from the 70s basically. So yeah, his roots are still there, and definitely his love for Harlem is a big part of it. And well, I was gonna say more. I'll actually leave this out because, like I say, I'll just go ahead and say this. There are some characters that are brought back and some characters that are left out. And I think overall, you know, Netflix, they really made some smart decisions there, the people behind this series. Now, Iron Fist, I did an Iron Fist review. As a matter of fact, I reviewed all of these series, I believe. I'm trying to remember if I did Jessica Jones. Can't remember if I did hers independently. But like I said, I enjoyed her series overall. It did have some dragging issues there, like all of these series has had. But when it came to Iron Fist to me felt like the most undercooked series. Like it felt very rushed in a lot of ways. Very weak choreography, very weak writing, way too much business nonsense with the Meachums. They didn't really, to me, push the character enough in a comic book way. It was to the point where I was really wondering if this actor, if he was miscast, basically. And the Defenders has confirmed for me that that was not the case. I really do feel like his own series, Iron Fist, the first season just had bad writing, and it was just poorly planned. And to my shock, I mean, to be honest, in the Defenders, and some people might feel differently, you know, and that's completely understandable. But for me, Iron Fist actually ended up being the standout character within the Defenders. Now, later on in the season, I feel like he didn't get to shine as much, and that is for a particular reason, which I won't get into, and no pun intended there about the shining, but still, I really felt like he actually brought some heart to this series, and also some levity as well, and it was very much appreciated. And I like his continued interaction with Colleen Wing. That's something overall that I really do like about the Netflix character, you know, the Marvel characters that are on Netflix. There's more time to play around with the relationships and everything, whereas in the movie, sometimes I feel like, okay, we're kind of told that these characters are like it, that they are into each other more than we're really showing it, because they just don't have the time within a 2 hour, even a 2.5 hour movie sometimes to really get into those relationships. But yeah, with the Netflix series, they get time to develop it. So seeing Iron Fist and Colleen Wing together again, it was nice, you know. And Colleen Wing, I feel like her character in his first season, I feel like she definitely could have been handled better, because there was a plot reveal within that series that made me kind of question her intelligence. Not really putting down the actress or the character overall, but if you've seen the Iron Fist season 1, you know there was a reveal towards the end that just makes you go, no, that doesn't quite make sense. You know, it seems like she would be much smarter than that. But yeah, I like the way that she was portrayed more within this series, and like I said, I like her interplay along with him. And then I was very, you know, interested to see how Iron Fist and Luke Cage would interact with each other, because they've been a duo for a long time, and I almost wish I had like an anthology of those early Power Man and Iron Fist comics just to see how they really came together and worked together, because I mean, like I said, Luke Cage is from Harlem. And Iron Fist, you know, he still has a large stake of the majority share within a company. I mean, he's a billionaire. So I was really wondering how those characters came together and became such good friends. But I like how they handled these two in this series, and to see them actually face off against each other, which that's giving nothing away. The images you see there on the left, these come straight from the previews. So yeah, that was fun. It was really fun to see these two learning more about each other, and not just immediately becoming friends, really working through it. That was a big part of the series, and I could say that about all of the characters. It was not like an automatic team up, and that was really one of the strengths of the series, seeing them being very resistant to it, because you think about it, because they're set in a more grounded world, it's not such an easy idea to just form a team. And they even make a little I don't know if it was considered to be a jab or not, but there's a little reference that was in the previews that's kind of funny to me to DC. I won't even say more about that, but yeah, I thought that was handled in a very honest way. And this particular scene, by the way, I'm not ruining anything for you. I'll just say the restaurant scene, which they spent some time there, probably some of the strongest writing within the Defender series. Their interplay, all four of them together, it was really nice. And you know, some good humor there as well, and it led into some other things that were interesting also. So yeah, the group dynamic with this team is very interesting, way more interesting to me than the Avengers, to be honest, because the Avengers they're just such a powerful team. Sometimes they're tough to relate to, where I feel like these characters are much easier to relate to. I want to talk just very briefly about the supporting characters, because of course from each series we have met a lot of characters along the way, and I'm not going to really get deep into all of these. I just want to point out a couple. Misty Knight was very prevalent within the Defenders. You will see that, and I think most of the things with her character were understandable. I mean, she is a cop, you know, she's a detective, and she very much plays that role. And I think, you know, again, the actress did a great job with that. She's definitely conflicted some about the whole vigilante thing. You see that. And again, it's realistic to me, because it's not an easy thing to accept. I mean, she's devoted her life to being a police officer, so it's not such an easy thing to kind of hand over that power. And there is her captain that she works up under. He annoyed me a little bit because he felt too much like that typical police captain that's just annoying, basically. But her character, I think, you know, she handled the situations that she was put in well enough. Claire, like I said, I'm not crazy about Claire anymore. I absolutely love Rosario Dawson as an actress. I think she's gorgeous. I've liked most of the things that she's been in, but within the Netflix series, she's had so many soapbox moments where she's just speechifying, preaching, whatever you want to call it, that it just gets really grating on the nerves. So I will say, at least in the Defenders, that's limited a lot. She doesn't have as many of those moments, and I was very thankful for that. And again, I'm going to address her character again later on, and there'll be a reason why. Colleen Wing, like I said, was really nice to see her back. And Colleen Wing, if you know anything about her, she's not a character just to sit back and watch things happen around her. And I like that was true, that they stayed true to the character within the Defender series. You will see that. And then some of the other characters, like I said, I'm not going to get deep into them, within what happened with them. But I like that they were as helpful as they could be, but it was, to a realistic extent. I like the way that Foggy was used, and I'm not going to get too specific about why, but if you followed the Daredevil series, you know that things have been very rocky between him and Matt Murdock. So their interaction, I thought, was handled pretty well. Better actually than it was in Daredevil season 1, because I got kind of annoyed by the arguments that they had, to be honest. But yeah, the supporting cast overall, I think there were some really good choices made there in terms of who was included and who was not. And there are, I would say, just a few, some basically cameos, some people that show up very briefly and we've seen them before. And again, good choices in my opinion overall. Now, there are going to be some characters that you may not see, that you might be kind of annoyed by them not showing up. But again, I agree with the choices that were made overall. Of course, I also have to address the villains. Yes, I know there are supporting characters too, but I think they need to be addressed separately. And again, I'm not really giving anything away here. As a matter of fact, I'm actually leaving out at least one character just because I don't want to ruin that sort of surprise, even though I wasn't crazy about this particular character, but I'm not going to reveal that character. Sigourney Weaver, of course, when she was announced as the villain, it kind of threw me for a loop. Now, I really do like Sigourney Weaver. She has a lot of nerd credibility from the movies that she's been in previously, especially the Aliens franchise, but I like her overall in this. There were moments that she played very well. Did she feel threatening though? Not enough to me. I just didn't quite buy that, especially her being a physical presence or a physical force. I really didn't buy that. I mean, already Madame Gao is kind of a stretch, but in a good comic book way. So I'm okay with that with Madame Gao. Whereas with Sigourney Weaver's character, I felt like she was played even more realistically, and that actually made it seem less plausible that she would be so intimidating to the people around her. I just almost felt like something was missing there. I did like her relationship, her interaction with Elektra, and by the way, that's no spoiler at all. We knew Elektra was coming back. That's been set up. But I did feel like some of the beats between her and Elektra, some of the moments they had did start to feel a little bit repetitive. There were some scenes that felt like, okay, I've seen this before. Let's, move along. And yeah, that got to be just a little bit annoying. Elektra overall, I thought was a good villain. Definitely a good physical presence. But even some of her logic towards the end was, somewhat illogical to me. And I didn't quite understand why she did some of the things that she did toward the end. Maybe that's just me. I mean, who knows? And overall, the Hand, I would say I was expecting to see a lot more cool things done with the Hand, but they were pretty much, especially the ninjas, very much cannon fodder when it comes down to it. So that was kind of disappointing. Definitely got to talk about the action as well. And I know the action with the Netflix series has been good overall, but somewhat inconsistent. And I mean, within Jessica Jones series, it's understandable that there wasn't a ton of action there. Daredevil definitely has delivered on the action. Luke Cage was very much a mixed bag. And for Iron Fist, his series, season 1, it was just weak. I mean, to be honest, and that's disappointing because it really should have been on the level of Daredevil at least. The Defenders action, though, I would say they stepped it up overall. There are some really good action sequences. Of course, they had to have a hallway scene. We've seen that in the previews. I do wish it was more smoothly edited, but at the same time, I can understand how difficult that is to handle 4 characters, you know, 4 heroes in action against these villains. Definitely not an easy thing to choreograph and edit together. They tried to make some moments, to extend some moments with some clever cuts, but they weren't quite as clever as in the other series. Also, I gotta say about the action, there are a lot of moments in the dark and where things are almost tough to see, and it's so obvious that they're trying to hide stunt people, and you know that was a bit of a letdown, but it's at the same time, again, it's understandable. These are actors, and they haven't had like a ton of time to train. You know, they've gotten better though, including Iron Fist. The actor that plays Iron Fist, much better with his action scenes in this series than he was in Iron Fist, so I was really glad to see that. Now, as far as the plot, obviously I'm going to be very tight-lipped about it. I'll just say again, though, the team dynamic really makes this series. Them trying to basically come together as a team, some being very resistant to that idea. Really, Iron Fist would probably be the most optimistic one in that terms, and I don't think that's a surprise. That's not really ruining anything. If you've seen his series, you know that overall he is an optimist, so that's no surprise there. So really, that's really what made the series overall. As far as the plot involving the conflict with the villains, it's okay, but it's kind of just there. It's not going to blow you away, in my opinion. You know, it didn't really blow me away. I mean, it was serviceable, but nothing amazing at all. So yeah, it's really about the characters in this series, and that was strong enough, so that made the plot work in the long run. So my final verdict, I really did enjoy this series overall. I definitely would recommend that anybody that's a fan of these characters watch this series. And really, I mean, if you're just a fan of what Netflix has been doing with their original content, it's worth checking out. I don't feel like you even have to be a comic book fan or a Marvel fan, you know, to really enjoy these, because there's drama there's comedy, there's romance, there's all these different things mixed in. So it's not just for comic book lovers. I think there's a lot to enjoy there. And if you watch the other series, then it's definitely worth checking out. And overall, I feel like the Defenders delivered what was pretty much promised. You know, that these characters would come together, it would be something exciting. And I gotta be honest, I found the Defenders, and I know it's maybe not a fair comparison because they had so much more time to develop these characters and then to bring them together, but still, it definitely stands head and shoulders above in terms of storytelling and emotion, above what they've done with the Avengers even. So I was pretty happy with it overall, and I'm really interested to see where they go with the characters. The main thing I want to see in the future with these Netflix series, though, they've been very hesitant about completely going into some comic book elements. I mean, Daredevil does wear his suit, and there are some good jokes relating to that, you know, so that was cool, especially since he is the only one wearing a suit. So yeah, like I said, some good jokes about that, but at the same time, I felt like Netflix has been holding back some with some of the comic book elements where they could go ahead and embrace them, and there are some hints that they are willing to embrace those more, so that gives me some hope for what they could do with the characters in the future, and some of the ideas that we've seen in the comics that you see represented with these images here. I kind of hope they move in that direction, and you know, especially with Luke Cage, because Luke Cage and Claire together, it honestly just doesn't really do much for me. As much as I like Rosario Dawson, I would really rather see Luke Cage kind of work things out with Jessica Jones. They are a couple within the comics. I don't know if that's what Netflix plan is. They kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say more about it because I don't want to give away, you know, details, but I'll just say I really hope that they would move in that direction. I hope they do some more interesting things with Misty Knight. It seems like they might be willing to do so. We will see. You know, there's just a lot they can do, and I really want to see maybe the Defenders roster even grow some, which is definitely a possibility. I mean, already Colin Wing feels like she's that honorary 5th member in a way, you know, and I don't think that's a surprise to say, especially if you saw Iron Fist series. So we'll see what happens there, but definitely the Defenders, it gives me a lot of hope for what could happen in the future. and what they could do with Marvel in general. Obviously, Punisher's on the way, his series. Looking forward to that. I still feel like Blade would be a great fit on Netflix as well. Maybe even some other characters like Moon Knight. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens in the future, but this definitely makes me very hopeful. So I want to hear from you all, if you've just started the series or if you already finished it, wherever you may be, even if you're just considering whether or not to get into the series, let me know your thoughts about it. Like I said, I tried my best not to really spoil anything for you, so if you haven't even seen the first episode yet, I really think you should jump on it, enjoy it. It is a really solid series. Overall, I'm not going to give it a rating. I don't really do that. I'm just going to give it a recommend. That means you should check it out, and I think you will enjoy it. Definitely make sure that you like this video. I did put a lot of thought into it, especially on what I need to leave out, so that I don't spoil things for you. And if you're new to my channel, definitely make sure that you subscribe as well. Thank you so much for watching. That really does mean a lot to me, and you all take care.